Someone here to see you, looks like.
Wonder what about?
Wanted to talk. You got a minute?
You must be V. My partner, Detective Han.
Okay. Thanks for agreeing to meet.
You really intend to work with a merc?
Don't know what I intend just yet. For now, I'm gonna see if I hear anything new about Ryan's death.
You back on that? Boss already told you to drop it. I can say it again. You know he hates to say things twice. And if you couldn't give a rat's fat ass about any of that, heed my advice, as your friend. Just let the case go.
See me do anything? Just sitting here, sipping coffee, listening to gossip.
Fine. Do what you want. I'm not about to be part of this. Gotta go get my little girl anyway. And you two at least find a quieter corner. Wouldn't want to be overheard.
Okay. Talk.
River Ward is a detective with the NCPD in Night City. He is also a possible romance option for V. Growing up, River lived with his sister Joss and their parents, who ran a small farm, but like many small farms, it eventually went out of business as larger corporations took over the farming business. In turn, his parents took to running a grocery store, and the family of 4 lived in the apartment area above it. One day, some drugged up thugs broke in looking for cash, and when they didn't find any in the store, went up into the living quarters and demanded money from the father, who swore that they didn't have anything else. Not liking this response, one of the thugs killed River and Joss's father, and then put a gun in River's hand and had him point it at his own mother's head, demanding that he shoot and kill her. River stalled, terrified, to the point a thug gave up trying to bait the child and took the gun and killed their mum himself, before then running off, leaving both River and Joss alive but now orphans. The siblings were then sent off to an orphanage to be cared for, but the NCPD never caught the thugs who killed their parents, and with this lack of justice, River saw this as complete incompetency regarding the NCPD and made it his goal to become a detective to solve cases like what had happened to his family. Sometime before the year 2077, River had become an NCPD detective and was first partnered with Jamie Sheen, but later on Jamie committed suicide over his own frustrations with how the top brass cared more about bribes rather than upholding the law. River continued serving as a detective though, and sometime later he was partnered with another detective, Harold Hand, and even worked then with well-established people such as Jefferson Pirellis. Meanwhile, his sister, Joss, had married an Alda Caldo, with whom she had 3 children, Randy, Dorian, and Monique. With his brother-in-law not being much of a father figure, River would step in and help take care of the children, particularly when he once caught his brother-in-law with one of his young sons, Dorian, at a dive bar in the middle of the night, so the detective took his nephew home, much to his brother-in-law's ire. When his brother-in-law later died, River continued to try and help support Joss and her children, such as buying them a new trailer to live in, which then resulted in Randy taking over the old one as his own home. However, River and Joss eventually had a falling out sometime before the year 2077 over River's driven desire to bring justice for his victims' cases being so far to the point that it was all he could talk and think about, with little regard for his own family issues. At one point during the year 2077, he got a solid tip that Mayor Lucius Ryan's life was in danger and had set off to speak with the mayor's security when a cyber psycho, Peter Horvath, attacked right after River got there. River managed to incapacitate the would-be attacker before they could find and kill the mayor and the deputy mayor, Weldon Holt, but Ryan ended up dying anyways later that day from a separate heart problem. This odd coincidence did not go unnoticed to River, but he had no way to really link the two incidents, especially as his superior ordered him to drop the case, and even his partner Harold warned him not to reopen it. So if V completes I Fought the Law, River got a call soon after from V, who was being tasked by the Paralyses to find out what really happened to Ryan, as they had their own suspicions about his untimely death. Together, River and V tracked down the Red Queen's Race, an invitation-only sex club that Ryan had visited on the very night of his death. They learnt that Ryan had died in the club from a virus-spiked brain dance, and Deputy Mayor Weldon Holt had ordered Detective Hand to cover it up. While V reported the findings to the Paralyses, River decided to try to reopen the inquest into Ryan's death. However, when he confronted Han about his own actions in the cover-up, he was told once more to drop it. Undeterred, he decided to take it up with his superiors, but ultimately got suspended from the force instead. While still suspended, he came to believe that his missing nephew, Randy Kutcher, had been abducted by Anthony Harris, the man behind the Peter Pan child abductions, after seeing a video where Anthony was being chased by NCPD before being shot, while one of his newer victims in the video had Randy's shoes on. However, while Anthony was alive, he was comatose, preventing the NCPD from determining where his other victims were kept. Dismayed that the Peter Pan case was assigned to Detective Gonigal, who was unlikely to pursue it seriously, River asked V to help him so that he could rescue Randy, conveniently leaving out the fact that he'd been suspended from the force. So the next part is if V agrees to help with the hunt. Together, they infiltrated an NCPD contracted medical lab in the Glen, which had been experimenting with scrolling brain dances of dreams for therapeutic and investigative purposes, hoping to examine any brain dances of Anthony's dreams. They were confronted by Dr. Yawen Packard, a long-time friend of Rivers, who revealed that Anthony was not dreaming due to his condition. With no other leads, River decided to break the news that Randy had been abducted to his sister Joss and search Randy's room for clues to his whereabouts leading up to his disappearance, as well as any sensory stimuli that could be used to make Anthony dream. They found Randy had a new laptop and come into contact with Anthony through a secret website hidden on a false website for people looking to kick their drug abuse habits. Thanks to a cartoon that Randy had then downloaded from the site, Yawen was able to trigger Anthony's dreams. So the next step, if not enough clues were found and guessed the wrong farm, unfortunately then, despite River and V working together, they weren't then able to locate the right farm in time and failed to rescue Randy, who actually ended up dying. If enough clues were found or guessed the right farm to locate Randy but V abandoned the search, then with V's help, River was able to deduce that Anthony must have been using Edgewood Farm to hold his victims, but due to V choosing not to go any further and assisting River, in turn River then headed out on its own to rescue Randy, but wasn't prepared for the defenses that Anthony had set up around the farm and was summarily killed and wasn't able to save Randy. And the final option there, if enough clues were found or guessed the right farm to locate Randy and V didn't abandon the search, so with V's help at analysing the brain dances, River was able to deduce that Anthony must have been using Edgewood Farm to hold his victims. The two set out to the farm, which was now heavily fortified, but managed to get through the defences and rescue Randy and several other victims that Anthony had been force-feeding and injecting with hormones via equipment designed for livestock. Whilst they'd managed to rescue his nephew, River still felt that Anthony should die for what he did to all his victims, and with this in mind, he went to the hospital where the comatose murderer was being kept and put his gun against the man's head, intent on killing him. As he stood there though, he had flashbacks to his childhood when the thug tried to make him shoot his mother, and realised he'd be no better than that thug if he went through with the execution. So with that, he left the hospital, letting Anthony live. A short time later, River invited V over for a dinner with his family. So if the next mission series, if following the River, was completed, as V and River hung out together, River eventually revealed to V how he decided not to kill Anthony, explaining what happened to his parents that ultimately made up his decision to not go through with it. The two enjoyed the rest of the night having dinner with his family and playing games. As the night winded down, River then handed V his own revolver, Crash, noting it carried too many bad memories for him. So if you're playing as a female V and you've taken him up on his offer, River then revealed the real reason he pulled V away for a private conversation was that he was interested in her. After some banter back and forth, the two then headed back to his room for some more alone time. So, knowing his time with the NCPD was coming to an end, River decided to become a private investigator instead and began to work out the plans to do so, deciding that he'd like to specialize in kidnapping to help other families like what had happened to his. If River was romanced and the star ending was chosen, then what happens next is, not wishing to abandon Night City's citizens, whom he still felt the need to protect, River and V parted ways as V leaves with the Aldecaldos. And his database entry in game says this: River Ward thought that nothing could top becoming an NCPD detective, that things could only get easier from there. Well, turns out that always doing the right thing in Night City is harder than just getting a title. Every day for River is a moral struggle. Either he plays the game or he gives up a slice of his soul. If he lets his guard down for even 1 second, some ganger will get the best of him. In spite of all this, River shows up for work every morning with a can-do attitude. Maybe it's his way of coping, or because he doesn't know how to do anything else. And we'll move on to some notes and some trivia. River drives a Thornton Mackinac MTL-1. River is the only main romanceable character in-game that can die. And voice actor Pavel Sasko did the voice of River during the sex scene with V, if they romance him, for whatever that trivia is worth. So guys, if you have any comments, if you have any thoughts, anything to add, any requests, etc., love to hear about it. Stick them in the comments below. And with that being said, look forward to seeing you in the next video. Cheers.
Listen, so, Randy's birthday's coming up next week, and Joss will be making dinner on the 20, Right, the 21st. So, if you don't have plans or something, or if you're in town and you're free, then... as you can see, it'd mean a lot to us. Okay. I'll call you later. See you soon, hopefully. And, stay out of trouble. B. Hey. So, I've been to every precinct in the city. Every hospital emergency room. Every single Ripper doc. Nobody knows what happened to you. It's like you're a ghost. If that job went sour, then I guess that's it then. But if everything went like it was supposed to, V, if you're alive, just call me, please. You owe me that much. Anyway, bye, I guess. Suicide, huh? Well, guess it wasn't that far-fetched. At least, that's how half the people in Night City end up anyway. Especially the good ones. Jamie Sheen, my first partner back on the force, blew his brains out. Didn't leave a note or anything. I knew it was because of how the top brass were handling things. Of course, not like it changed much. Except the fact we were down one more decent batch. V, hey. So, here's the thing. A couple fellas from the 5th Precinct busted a shop selling illegal iron. Sawed-offs, stun guns, mustard gas canisters. Orders from on up were to blow it all to the ground. But then I thought, well, maybe there's a better way to use all this stuff for a good cause. I still remember what you did for us. For me and Randy. This city needs more people like you. I'm gonna make sure they're equipped. This one's on me, V. See you around.